I must admit, I've recently been enjoying an Isabella campaign. She recently got some skill changes on campaign where she now has some cool buffs for bats and other things. And in multiplayer, unfortunately, she gets often overlooked in the 100,000 vampire lords you have to choose from, but in many respects, she can be seen as almost analogous to Alariel. 65 melee defense on horseback, plus 110 armor with the, barded skeletal steed or whatever it's called here. Lord Vampires, obviously, best lore magic in the game. She's also got Red Fury, Master of Beguilement, an awesome 44-second melee attack debuff, and Blood Chalice of Bethori, which is not going to save this poor Banshee, who gets immediately nuked by fireballs and a Luminarch. Got the Dire Pack sweeping up and around here, 2 Blood Knights, a whole line of Skeleton Warriors. We've got Graveguard with Great Weapons, Sternsman, Unholy Lodestone, 1 White King, who's now going to be the subject of said Luminarch, which is, of course, Temple Hoff. We've got Volkmar also, Witch Hunter, Bright Wizard, plenty of Empire Knights, some Free Company Militia, Spearmen, Swordsmen, Flagellants, so pretty decent Empire build, I have to say, in this matchup. The Temple Hoff, a little bit of a meme pick, can be a little bit tough to use in practice sometimes, but also potentially very strong tool. Isabella doing well to avoid that for the time being. But again, I just want to come back to the fact that Isabella has just really good stats for a character. Generally, vampire characters tend to have very good stats, but the hunger gives her a little bit of self-healing in melee. Lore of Vampires in general is just super strong. She's not the best caster, but this Red Fury, you can see, I think previously it was maybe only damage or something, but giving extra charge bonus now, 20% charge, can be used on any ally, does synergize very well with Blood Knights here. The Blood Chalice is not going to get any character healing unless it's on herself at this point, because both of the characters in her army are now dead due to the Luminarch, but Vampire player here going to keep advancing, and it's going to be pretty decent stuff. Luminarch seeing off another shot. Let's see. Yep, going after the corpse cart. That is the next best target, although, of course, Isabella would be the best target to be shooting at right now. Volkmar going to be dropping his banishments here, so things are looking a little bit rough. But keep in mind, of course, as long as the Blood Knights are alive and as long as Isabella is still alive, the rest of this is all just kind of window dressing. As some of the chaff starts to get through, doggos do eat up the Free Company there, the Dire Pack. Now going to get countercharged by Empire Knights. Another Luminarch shot does finish off the Unholy Lodestone, so definitely got some really good value already. Beautiful Burning Head as well, roasting out some Skeleton Warriors, doing a little bit of damage to the Graveguard also. But Blood Knights starting to clean up some of the Empire Knights. The ones loose in the back line here are getting some good charges, kind of running up and around, and now pinning in Volkmar up against Isabella. And because of Isabella's strong stats here, 532 23 weapon strength rather, using Red Fury on herself, going up to 60 charge bonus as well. I mean, for a caster lord, she is a formidable fighter, it must be said, as most vampires are. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of an Earth Blood. Nope, Invocation of Nehek. Master of Beguilement also on Volkmar, putting him down to 14 melee attack. It's going to pop the bombardment. It'll do some damage, not too much to all the units in this area of effect, but Blood Knights will be pulling away there. Sternsmen continuing to hold the line as they do. Of course, Isabella can summon zombies and heal, which is why I say Lore of Vampires is the best, because it has, the 2 most competitive abilities. The only one it's really lacking is a hard snare, which, I mean, you can kind of use the zombies to snare units on occasion. But Blood Knights getting through here, getting on the Luminarch. There's not really enough Empire resources left to protect. The Empire Knights do get thrown in to try and block momentarily. Luminarch's used up most of its ammunition already, though. Really, the only thing it wants to shoot at this point is either Blood Knights or Isabella, both of which would be valid targets. But Free Company firing while they advance back into the line here. This Blood Knight's getting a little bit trapped. They're going to get an Invocation of Nehek to try and sustain them through this situation. Also, looks like Flaming Sword of Ruin on the Empire side to give him a little bit of a damage spike there with the Kindle Flame. Pretty good stuff. The Blood Knights should be able to regenerate through this damage, but definitely a dangerous situation for them. All the meanwhile, Isabella's just been stuck to Volkmar, just tailing him everywhere he goes, just following up in his little mass wake, like literally just wake surfing behind Volkmar, just getting continuous hits. Not really taking too much damage. The pistol fire here from the Free Company is not going to be too impactful. And as long as she can avoid getting caught up in the Empire Knights, she can pretty much keep up with Volkmar. He is going to screen somewhat through here, but does open himself up to a flank charge from the Blood Knights there. That's pretty good stuff. These Graveguard with Great Weapons matched up on the Sigmar Suns. Pretty ideal engagement for them. And yeah, the Bright Wizard now being cleaned up by Anti-Large Blood Knight, still able to sustain. Credit to Vampire Counts player here, Coops, who sent this replay in, doing a great job sustaining his Blood Knights. That is, you know, priority objective number one, especially in this matchup. Blood Knights are just so strong here. And again, pinning Volkmar in up against Isabella. You know, you've got the Anti-Large Blood Knights, got Isabella getting in some pretty strong attacks, and looks like the banishment, threat of banishment, did kind of force those Blood Knights away there. Isabella gets momentarily distracted by the Free Company Militia. That's fine. Blood Knight's going to get a counter charge here by the Empire Knights. Likely to get finished off just because they're so low. They will generate that much, little bit of extra value there before they get finished off. And there's still the one more unit of Blood Knights, I believe, somewhere. Yep, over here. Cleaning up the Luminarch, getting fireballed by the Firecaster there. But just look at Isabella here, man. The fact that she has such high melee defense means none of this Empire sort of state troop chaff, if you will, is going to make contact with her. And even Volkmar with his 54 attack with Grand Hammer Sigmar active still is not, I mean, he's still like 20% chance to hit, right? 25% chance to hit, give or take. So in reality, with what's left here, I mean, the Witch Hunter can potentially shoot her down with accusations. That'll lower her melee defense and armor. Volkmar and some of these other units might be able to get a little bit better contact, but she's still got zombie summons, evidently, to continue to screen out such dangers. And as long as she's staying stuck to Volkmar, or of course just charge down the Witch Hunter and finish him off, that will be just fine. Also, Blood Knight still sustaining over here, finishing off Empire Knight, shattering one unit, routing another. They are just so strong here. The Luminarch does come back spitefully, 124 HP, still able to fire off a few shots here, generate some late game value. But Blood Knight's definitely in for some trouble. Can Isabella finish off Volkmar, though? She's actually directly blocking his path right now. He's trying to get through. Looks like the horses are getting some attack animations. Now Isabella with the response. Clutch charge from a handful of Blood Knights here. And you can see Volkmar's HP just tanking. That Luminarch shot, in fact, did not deal any friendly fire, I don't believe, but did basically finish off the Blood Knights. But Master of Beguilement being used here. 0 melee attack for Volkmar, so the accusation won't be so much of an issue. Still 41 melee defense even after the accusation, so, I mean, these Empire State Troop Spears, for example, they're 20 attack and probably like 15 bonus versus large. That's 35 effective melee attack. Still, you know, below base hit percent chance, like 29%, I think, if I can math it out right. Pretty impressive stuff. More fireballs being thrown at these skeleton spears over here. Summon zombies are about to disappear. Sternsmen are still holding, which they, you know, that's kind of their thing. But they hold it for forever, literally forever. But at this point, Volkmar doesn't have any mass to screen him out, and he is slower than Isabella. Isabella on her horse, 66 speeds, kind of standard heavy cavalry. It used to be standard heavy cavalry speed. Volkmar only 50, so she can keep up with him, even though they're both quite tired. She should still have enough of a speed advantage. But obviously not wanting to take the fight with the spear's support, she's going to come over, deliver a quick charge to this Witch Hunter. He is, I'm sure, not too happy about that, but more zombie summons on order. Very smart Winds of Magic usage. I often see Vampire Count players just kind of misuse their Winds of Magic. Probably out of any faction, Vampire Counts, you have to be most discerning about what spells to use when, and I have to say the zombie summons have been very on point in this game. Very good use of magic there. And honestly, just continuously summoning zombies, like, if you're not sure exactly of how to be using your magic, you know, besides healing your Blood Knights, obviously, in this situation is pretty critical. But the other thing is just to keep summoning zombies, especially once the Blood Knights are actually gone. It doesn't cost a lot of Winds of Magic, gives you a little bit of extra healing and everything. But Bright Wizard actually gets shattered by friendly fire. Not shattered, but routed by friendly fire there. Isabella turns around, decides to fight Volkmar 1v1. We've still got a handful of skeleton spears coming in from the side there, but at this point, Isabella, Red Fury active, again, 523 weapon strength, just absolute beast. Yeah, very strong combatant. The Vampire State Troops are going to move in, and they are still a little bit juiced up from the Shield of Faith, but again, even with that anti-large bonus, they're still not that good of a hit chance against Isabella, so we'll somewhat fast forward as Isabella does take some chip damage here. You know, the fact that she's exhausted means her armor's a little bit debuffed and everything, so she will be taking a little bit of extra damage here, but one more Spiteful Zombie Summon, just to give some chaff and kind of screen out some of these other units. And let's see, Master Beguilement, Grand Hammer, Sigmar, both on Volkmar is only 14 melee attack. Isabella looks like she's getting slightly distracted by the Free Company, but will she get a hit on Volkmar? Won't take too much more to... only probably one more hit. Yep, and there it goes. Volkmar gets taken down by Isabella, and that's likely to lead directly to army losses. I mean, there's still a handful of unbreakable troops here for her to have to push through. But with the zombies still fighting, she's free to disengage, sweep over here, and go after the Witch Hunter. Kind of the last bit of supporting leadership here. Taking him out will definitely trigger army losses. He's going to try and use that Slippery and Opal Amulet to survive this, but Isabella says, cheers, lifting a glass. It's kind of funny that her like missile block animation is actually just toast. Anyway, gonna ride down this foul Witch Hunter and teach him a lesson. And there we go, army losses. Just the unbreakable troops remain. So very good game from Coop. Big thanks for sending that one in. Isabella is often overlooked, and she's very strong for a Lord. I mean, all Vampire Counts Lords are objectively very good. Like, you give me any Vampire Counts Lord on most other rosters in the game, I would probably choose them over any of their existing Lords. Even the Master Necromancer in many situations. But look at this, 3,000 damage value, helping to finish off Volkmar there in the late game. Both of her heroes just got absolutely roasted by the Luminarch, but such is life for Vampire Counts. Both the Blood Knights as well, 4,000 value on one of them, 2,400 on another. I mean, a lot of that comes from doing damage to healing Volkmar, but still, I mean, dealing with basically all of these Empire Knights. The Free Company Militia actually pretty solid. I do like the pick in this matchup. We're able to do some good damage. Graveguard are somewhat limited here. That's a lot of it due to Volkmar, who himself gets a great value. Witch Hunter also pays for himself. Bright Wizard also pays for himself. I mean, value-wise... Sorry, my cat's kind of bumping into my mic stand. I apologize if that's really loud for you guys. Yeah, man, 1,400 value on Spearman, that's kind of insane. You do expect with a lot of healing sources in different builds that you will get overinflated value. Like, you probably add this up, and these Empire units might have got over 2,400 damage value. Whereas against other undead factions, you can sometimes get below value because of crumbling. Here, it ends up being that with the passive healing, like, you just get over what you should, actually. But still, Vampires clutching out a very close win there. And yeah, in terms of Vampire Counts Lords, again, you've got a lot of variety to choose from. All of them are casters, right? So maybe not so much variety in that aspect, but in terms of their abilities and skill sets, what they bring to the table, they do offer some differences. Isabella is just solid in terms of stats. If we kind of compare her to some other Vampire Counts Lords, really, I mean, in terms of mount options, she is somewhat more limited than a lot of other Vampire Counts. She doesn't have access to a Zombie Dragon, but Barded Nightmare, and even on the Hellsteed, 65 melee defense might be, right now, the highest melee defense of a flying caster. Let's take a look here. Like, Vlad obviously doesn't have access to any mounts, right? But if you even think about here, like the Vampire Lord, only 45 melee defense, right? I believe, yeah, Carstein's the same, more or less. 60 melee defense on the Lamian's pretty close. But, yeah, I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of melee defense. Even Vlad, who's known for being a tank, only really has 50. His tankiness kind of comes from his other things, right? Blood Drinker and whatnot. So, given that she has 65, I mean, when I think about it, like, Alariel at one point did have that high of melee defense on her Eagle, and then they kind of nerfed it, right? Because it was very strong. I will say, you know, and objectively, Isabella's, like, abilities kit is not as good as Alariel's. Her heals only single target, can only be used on characters, rather than in an AoE. She does have some buffs and debuffs, but, I mean, the immune to psychology magic damage for Alariel, for the High Elves at least, is very good and very necessary in many situations. Physical resistance as well, so kind of a wash in terms of the buffs and debuffs, I would say. But, yeah, the Star of Avalon is just better than the Blood Chalice. There's no question about that, even though it also restores Vigor. Yeah, in the late game, I didn't see if she used it there on herself, but might have actually just popped it for the Vigor, even if she was fully healed in that type of late game scenario. But in terms of kind of combat stats here, she definitely outshines, in many ways, Alariel. I mean, not just melee defense, 25 difference, but melee attack. She's got more weapon strength as well. Yeah, if we put her on the actual flying mount, it's a little more comparable. Yeah, more armor. have faster speed, better leadership, and of course crumbles instead of routes, which is a significant advantage. Less charge bonus, but you can self-buff with that Red Fury and give yourself a little more charge bonus. So, I don't know, I really think that, like, these two are more comparable than what a lot of people would think, and it's more so that, like, other lords kind of outshine, but if you want a tanky caster lord who's also mobile, at least tanky and melee in many ways, like, her HP is relatively low, but small target, not super expensive, right? Like, if you were to compare, like, the loadout that was taken there, what, zombie summons, and then the 2 buffs, I don't know if he even had Blood Chalice, to be honest, but let's say, benefit of the doubt, you go full in. 2,200 is quite a bit to spend on just a horse lord. But, you know, kind of considering the abilities you have access to and the stats also that you are paying for, definitely an option to be considered. I don't know, what do you guys think? I kind of like Isabella right now, mostly just because I've been playing a campaign with her, but also because she seems to be, in terms of caster lords, one of the best in terms of attack and defense stats, decent weapon strength also. Definitely more of like a hybrid melee caster character than what I initially realized. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.